Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World's Prediction Show. This is a show that we're going to be doing for 8 episodes of Worlds. We'll be doing it around the days before each match plays. So this is a show that is sponsored by PrizePicks. We literally would not be doing the show. They came to me with the idea of putting together something like this, and I wasn't sure what form it would take, but I have some friends who I thought would be great to invite on this, and we can turn it into a little bit of a game. And so, yeah, check it out if you like it and stick around. And if it gets good traction, we'll probably keep posting it to YouTube. I'll post this one up as an experiment to see how people feel about it. But it's going to be pretty fun. And they should be about 30 minutes long each episode. So we'll try to make them bite-sized and digestible for something that you can watch if you want a recap of the previous night's games or if you want to get some ideas of what's going to happen. As I mentioned, this show is brought to you by PrizePicks. I know that's not everyone's taste, so just know that they will be featured prominently throughout the show. If that is not something that you are interested in, no worries. But I think we're going to try to do it in a way that does not feel super obtrusive. So hopefully if you are uninterested in the PrizePicks stuff, you can at least enjoy the discussion. But for those that are interested in trying PrizePicks for the first time, you can do so at the link below. Use code Travis when you sign up. And there should be links in the chat as well for those that are watching live. So without further ado, let me introduce my co-host for the show, none other than Cubby, who I think you're most known for your work on a show called Hotline League. Is that correct?
Yeah, it would for sure be Hotline League with the prestigious Travis Gafford Industries. Absolutely, yeah. But no, also, if not familiar, cast NACL, been on LCS a few times, done LCK a couple times, and now a PrizePicks enthusiast.
Fantastic.
Thanks to TGI, and it has been fun having some money to toss around, and it does make the games more interesting for me. So I'm excited to do this with you, Travis.
Happy to do this. I'm realizing that my camera I want to invert, so I'm going to do that now. Next up, we have Elias. Elias, I think you've been less of a public face in the esports world, though. You've certainly done a lot behind the scenes, and you were also the first person I ever heard about PrizePicks from, long before they reached out to me about doing some work together. Do you want to talk a little bit about your background?
Totally. For those that don't know, I was the sole broadcast writer for the LCS for about 6 years. And then I was moved to a content producer position. Very proud of a lot of the work that I've done within the LCS and Riot, but by far the thing I'm most proud of was a TV show that a lot of people were very passionate about called Players. It's a long story, but that was like a really niche idea that got a lot of traction. It got made. I'm very proud of it. If you can, watch it on YouTube and Amazon Prime. I was unfortunately hit by the Riot layoffs. So initially I was kind of like scarred on watching League of Legends esports, but it was friends playing PrizePicks that sort of brought me back into it, and I fell in love with it again, and specifically reminded myself how much I knew about this stuff. I had been writing every World Finals for about like 5 to 6 years, and I knew my shit, and it was just really, really fun to play PrizePicks, and specifically in the international scene, it's just been the most fun, MSI and Worlds. So that's sort of the deal with me and PrizePicks.
Yeah, I realize your audio is a little quiet too, Elias. It's not too crazy, but if there's a way to up the volume a bit, that might be
Yes, there is. So I'll work on that right now.
Cool. But it's great to have you on the show. It's been really fun. For those that don't know, Elias and I have been good friends for a while now. We play a lot of Magic together, and so that was how I learned about PrizePicks from him. And we talked about this stuff a lot. Last but not least is a former coach and or manager of an LCS team, currently currently freelancing for the World's Prediction Show, sponsored by PrizePicks, as his job. It's none other than Krasad. How's it going, Krasad?
I'm doing well. Because this is my primary source of income, Travis has been exceptionally generous, and I've been around here and there in the scene, but you guys might know me most recently. Last thing I was part of was we competed at Worlds in 2023, and since then it's just been kind of a blur. But yeah, like I've I probably have the least familiarity with this stuff. I don't know how much like Cubby has been playing or doing lineups and stuff, but it is a really interesting like kind of setup. And I'm honestly, I do not feel like I have uh, expertise on the specific like lineups and all that stuff, but it's really interesting to think about, and I feel like I have a lot of questions for, and not all the answers that I'd want, you know. But
well, we're going to
yeah,
see
I
how
mean,
you develop over the next 8 episodes, because one thing I haven't told you guys is that we're going to be tracking all
Tracking.
of your wins
Oh
and
no.
losses, because you each are going to submit a lineup at the end of each show, and then on screen in future episodes we'll keep track of how everyone is doing. So we'll see. I don't have any prize for any of you based off of who does the best, but the three of you are going to compete to see who's got the best lineups. I mean, Krishan, I think the thing that will be interesting for you will be, like, I know that you've never played like daily fantasy sports or anything like this before,
Yeah.
but in my opinion, you should, as an analyst or coach, probably outmaneuver these guys in terms of picking, things based off of the meta or whatever, because that's what a lot of people do is they're looking and they're saying like, okay, this jungler, it says, the option is more or less on this many kills. And like, I think that the meta is now shifting to be one where people are playing stuff that has more kills or is a more aggressive, playmaking jungler or something. So I'm going to go up on that, or I'm
Yeah.
going to go more on that. So yeah.
Well, not to derail the conversation, but just really quick, I do remember reading about how like uh in the NFL, people that play a lot of like NFL manager or daily sports, or sorry, fantasy sports and stuff, versus NFL coaches, like when it comes to predicting like who's going to score this many points or who's going to get this many tackles or like these various things, I'm very concerned on like, obviously you target certain teams and you think about your team's strengths and weaknesses, and so you should be able to apply that. So I think that's definitely like something I hope to see improvement on over 8 lineups and stuff. But I'm almost always focused on like, when I try to track my own predictions just for the sake of like testing myself, especially in off season, it's like who's going to win or lose. I
Yeah.
very rarely look at like over under, or sorry,
More or less.
more or
Yeah.
less on kills and assists and all that stuff. So it's really interesting. It's a skill set that I feel like as a fan you probably watch a lot. Like I watch a lot of tape, but I don't actually watch with that in mind. Actually, you're looking less, which is important, right? Because you might look at who's playing well, but you might not actually see the results of like who's actually picking up uh who's good at kill securing, like those kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
It's been maybe one of the most fun aspects of getting better, I guess, at PrizePicks, was a sort of challenging how I used to look at League of Legends, or yeah, how I used to look at League of Legends games. Very binary for what it's worth. Like, especially when you're on the broadcast side, you're just thinking about like, okay, this is the winner, we move forward. And it, from my perspective, as a person who was purely behind the scenes broadcast and mostly viewed like teams from like a content perspective, it really challenged my POV on like how teams work. And it's been really fun to sort of challenge how I think teams will work, and essentially being rewarded for it. T1, as an example, is a very interesting team right now around Worlds to predict against when you talk about which players will do better or worse, because they sort of only have one way of winning. But we can go into that later.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll talk more about how PrizePicks works later on, before we get into predictions and all that stuff, because I don't want people to tune in for the first time and just hear us talking for 5 minutes about the product, whenever really it is a show that's about predictions. So before we get into predictions and we talk about the matches that are going to be played tonight, I think one thing that would be kind of fun to do is to talk about Worlds so far. And I just did Hotline League with Cubby, and we were talking a little bit about our or surprises or whatever for teams. But Cubby, maybe within the context of predicting how players are doing specifically, and kills and assists, and meta in terms of how that goes into all this stuff, have there been any surprises? Because I think you said you've been playing a little bit during Worlds. So
Yeah. It's interesting in terms of surprises. I think the biggest trend that I've tried to hop on just kind of leans into what Croissant was talking about, with looking at things in a different lens and making lineups with prize picks. The thing I've been metagaming the most, which I think you were hinting at actually, OES, with T1, is how many kills a jungler is going to get. Because I'm looking at drafts, and I'm just trying to predict, are they going to draft Maokai or Brand, right? Or is it going to be Vi or Sejuani? Because that does really impact how many kills you can get as a jungler. So, like, for example, Peanut, he had a line where it was 2.5 over 2 games, and he played 2 games of Maokai, so it didn't hit. I was looking at that line like, wow, that should have hit for sure, right?
Right.
It did not, which I found very interesting. So I think that's been the one trend I've really been hopping on. But it's mostly, I figured out that early on in the tournament, they were setting the lines too low, so I was mostly on Moors. But now I feel like as the tournament goes on, it might shift again. That's very common because they will set the lines for what happens in the domestic major regions and then not factor in that the play-in teams are the play-in teams at times. So yeah, that is something that is interesting to look at with the trends.
That has been because obviously my first experience playing PrizePicks was MSI. And for those of us who have been watching for a while, we know how every international tournament goes, which is it starts really bloody and then it narrows in more and more. And that this like sort of window that we're in is a really nice way to sort of capitalize on like what you know about League of Legends. I'm very interested to see in the episodes going forward when we start trending towards like it's the low. Like teams are gonna start playing more conservative now, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think it's been interesting. I mean, is that what you have seen, Elias? Like, how's the first part of Swiss done for you in terms of your surprises for the teams or the meta or anything along those lines?
So I want to shout out the dumb group chat that I do with my friends. And if you viewer at home want to get into PrizePicks, highly advise doing it with your friends if they can do so. It is so much fun. It just makes the viewing experience more intense. But there is a very data focused person within the group chat who very much believed like the meta is going to be top side kills. And I very much believed it was going to be like, nah, 80 carries are going to farm. And what essentially ended up happening was we're both kind of right. It's just been bloody. And I think the thing that I found really, really fun about this Worlds and really, really rewarding when I'm playing has been predicting which games are going to be bloody no matter what. Like, Fnatic is going to lose, but they're going to get kills. And and the lines within PrizePicks are not super interested in how the individual teams will perform. Those predictions are more interested in who the winner is going to be. And I think that's where like a person like myself who's been playing League or playing and watching League, but more realistically watching League for so long, can capitalize on like, okay, well, Fnatic's always gonna just like brawl it out until the very last moment. So when the line is, and Cubby hinted at something that like I also have been trying to capitalize on, which is this prediction that junglers will get more kills than they actually will. And then like deciding like, okay, who's going to get the one carry game essentially.
Yeah.
And when we talk about my picks for the next week or tomorrow, I hyper focused on like, okay, even though you are on a losing team, in my opinion, where do you get your kills? And like, what game do I think you're going to like break out, or Brand Jungle is a good example. So to like sort of summarize, the World has been bloody, and that's really, really fun. It's fun from a viewer experience. It's really fun if you're playing PrizePicks, because you can sort of like glean which teams are going to keep their foot on the gas pedal and which teams are going to back out. And like, I'll shout it out. Like, I'm kind of, I've been really disappointed with Team Liquid. I really thought that they would be more on the gas pedal at times. They're more on the gas. They're just like, that pedal is like wonky as shit. It's like sticking sometimes. It's random as fuck. Yeah. That's
no, I mean, it's been
sort of
to your point about the Team Liquid stuff, just to make this not all about the lineups and that type of thing. We were just talking on Hotline League about some of my disappointments with the NA teams, and Cubby was, I think, a little less disappointed than I was, but one of my disappointments with TL has been that I feel as though they did exhibit more aggression, and they did try to pick more fights, and they did try to be more, they seem to be more active in the LCS. And perhaps that is because they are able to find opportunities in the LCS that are just not available to them on the international stage, and that's why they have not been as aggressive. But for me, whenever I've watched or started up a Team Liquid game, I've been excited to see them really go for a lot of plays, and I feel like I have not so far, and so that is one of the disappointments I've had so far with their Worlds experience. But I don't know, Croissant, how's Worlds watching been for you? Anything about the meta that surprised you? Anything about the teams or the players that you've been excited about?
So I would say a lot of the meta was actually kind of face up, and I think a lot of the things that the teams a lot of the adaptations that will be really exciting to see are in the days to come, and in like the very high stakes, the most high stakes matches in group stage, and also going into Swiss, but sorry, not into Swiss, into
Quarters.
knockouts. But yeah, and it was really funny because one example of like a meta expectation is it really, I had very high conviction rate on like Yone, Aurora, all these kinds of champions. I've been less. I still have to go through a lot of the games with a finer comb to determine like if there's anything that was out of my expectation in terms of like how certain teams are playing, because I didn't go into it thinking like, okay, well, T1's going to play this style, or I was mainly looking at like picks and stuff. But one big example is Dokla was talking about how he's just like, I'm convinced Aurora is just like this bait champion. Like, Aurora is like, it has all of these weaknesses. It loses to everything on side. I'm just like, obviously you can talk about the flexibility between mid and top. You can talk about just the wide disparity between how certain people use its windows on literally just the first or second bases. But I think the biggest thing for me that always comes up, especially because Aurora was a champion that people were like, oh, is this going to be banned coming into Worlds? Is it going to like, because it was like disabled for so long and then ended up being enabled? No. You don't want to be the team asking or trying to find the perfect answer. You just want to be the team asking the questions. That's for a lot of champions, and for things like Aurora, is really my axiom. And so I think the players that can play things like Aurora going to the tournament is just going to, like, I don't think any of the teams are so constricted into one or two styles. I think every team has two or three styles, and I think that will also really dictate, as Elias and Cubby were talking about, like brand, right? Like, or these different junglers. And I was shocked because I hadn't kept tabs on any of this, but Peanuts statistics, or like what's projected, is like more or less 4 kills, right, for over the first 2 maps, and he has 1 kill over the last 5 games, which is insane, right? And so it's just but obviously he's going to be playing against FlyQuest, and then so what is really surprising to me is just like some of the matchups that we have in period. It's just like I didn't think we would get to the point where we would see FlyQuest against HLE, but obviously Fly had some really great draws, and so it's really just like this game, that kind of game, for example, is all about like FlyQuest has nothing to lose, right? So they really got to play with like spirit, and it's about like setting the right tone. Like you, some people say like you shoot for the stars, landed on the moon or whatever. And so in this case, it's like if they have a great showing and they come in with the right mentality, they'll be very well set up for their 2-2 match. And they might win, but yeah, I think the odds are harder than even our match against G2 last year for clear reasons. But yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, nothing super crazy for me, but I was surprised by how some teams let champions like Aurora and Yon through, and I really wondered what that we're going to see less of that as time goes on, right? Unless it's really needed in a series where a team decides we have to shake things up, and we got to try to make a team play something that they didn't expect they would be allowed to play in this series. But I was surprised by how much teams were opening and under prioritizing certain picks, and then I will probably continue to be surprised by certain teams like micro choices here or there, but I will keep a closer eye, and I recommend that everyone keeps because that's what's interesting about watching Worlds, right? Is those very tiny nuances of there's a 70% chance that this team actually opens Aurora, and then there's a 0% chance that some of these teams open Aurora, based off of what they've shown, what they're prioritizing, and how they're what their style has been. So
yeah.
To that point, I'm interested to hear from both Croissant and Cubby, where do you think Yone is going to land in the rest of the tournament? Because to me, I feel like if you can't play it, if you can't Zeka that and clear the entire game with it, you have to ban it.
Yep. I mean, there's also so many teams that have proven they can clear the game with it, so there's just more reason to ban it, right? So it feels like the answers are out. I feel like the only team that can really actually leave it up is D+. Because Showmaker plays every answer into it really well. Mm-hmm. So that might be interesting to look out for. But yeah, I think it's pretty much in the ban list for the rest of this.
Yeah, what do you think, Croissant, on Yone?
I mean, it's funny because both HLE and Genji, for example, have gone back and forth on it for so long, where it's obviously Zeka was the Silas Akali, but he also played a lot of Zero Ari in 2022. And then he kind of increased his priority on Yone, and then for a while, Chovy was picking Yone for stretches of time, and Zeka wasn't. And then I think more recently it's flipped back, right? They left it open in game 1 against Zeka, and then it was banned afterwards. So currently it's give the slight edge to Zeka on the champion. So presumably no one will open it versus him. But maybe some teams will, maybe HLE will try to open it versus Genji if they build some confidence in specific. Yeah, Zeka was taking sides of the melee matchups that other teams just were not willing to do at several points in his career, and finding very small ways to min-max or take more risks, and he's more risk loving, right? And so I think teams like Genji would probably prefer to unless they have a very ironclad style, and obviously they're one of the only teams that will prioritize Nidalee, and it will have Nidalee banned against them, right? But Nidalee's not a thing that will very much enjoy playing into Yone. But in the future, if they iron out a style, then it's they don't think that's risky, right? They think that's a real. They really just have that logic. Whereas HLE is we know this is risky, but we just expect Zeka to win those skill checks, and then so I think HLE is very unlikely to have it open versus them. Teams like Genji is more likely to open it versus teams that aren't HLE, stuff like that. So I it's really case by case, but if you develop these heuristics per team by team basis, then you'll be able to apply it on every single matchup that you are looking at. And yeah.
Well, let's get into tonight's matchups. So I figured the fun way we could do this is I'll ask all of you who you think is going to win each matchup. You can kind of give me your answer plus an explanation on why. And maybe in that process, if you feel like highlighting any players that you think will be pivotal to the matchup, that would be cool. we'll do that for both matches that are happening tonight, and then at the end of it, I'll ask you for your prize pick lineup. But for those of you that are unfamiliar, I will do sort of this little quick ad break here to talk about prize picks. Prize picks are, well, they've been awesome. They've sponsored Hotline League for the LCS summer split, as well as our Worlds coverage. And they were the reason why I went over to Worlds just now and was able to create a bunch of content over there that I've been releasing, and why I'll be back for finals. It is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. You can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports or esports. You can make prize picks lineups in as little as 60 seconds, so it's very easy. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. So for the purposes of this show, I've asked everybody to do, and we'll talk about this later, 2 stat projections for their lineups. And so you'll kind of see how they do that, and perhaps that'll help you out if you're trying to figure out how this works. By the way, it is America's #1 fantasy sports app. It has over 5 million active members, and you can join up today. So it's just really cool. They're headquartered in Georgia. So this is like a company that is within the U.S. It's not some sort of sketchy offshore company. They're operating. You can see their advertisements all over the place. I see them on buses in Los Angeles, and yeah, they've been really cool. So we'll talk about that. But besides League of Legends, they also offer you the ability to play prize picks on all sorts of other esports, including Valorant, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, etc., and then also against traditional sports, which I know Cubby plays a lot of prize picks on T-Sports matches. So, you can sign up.
Also,
oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to shout out Prize Picks. They now let me connect directly to my Venmo account.
Oh,
I
that's
literally just use it for, I joke with Travis, but Prize Pick winnings turns into trading cards, and then trading card sales turn into Prize Pick play stuff, which has been really, really fun.
Yeah.
So if you spotted it for a dinner and your friends got you in there, it's like, oh, just use this. I call it Monopoly money, but yeah.
Yeah, you can use exclamation mark prize picks if you're watching live, or you can use the link in the description to sign up and use code Travis. So you get by the way, when you use the code, the way it works is you make your first play with $5. Win or lose, they instantly give you $50 of promo credit. So that's for first time new users. But yeah, make sure you use the code so that you get access to that promo. So it's kind of cool. Anyway, let's talk about tonight's matches. So the first match that we have is TES versus DK, and that's at 5 a.m. Pacific, so in approximately 7 hours from this time. So, Cubby, you're first. Who do you think is going to win and why?
I have Top Esports winning. I think D Plus has been too sloppy in their games, and the biggest hope they have is if Showmaker and Lucid can really take it to Cream and TN. Showmaker has been really good in this tournament. D Plus they have too many moments where they end up looking like they have our NA team moments where they just all die as 5 across the map for whatever godforsaken reason, which has really been D Plus all year. This team is really talented, but they feel like they're held back a bit by their top side, and I don't think the meta suits them that well. So I have Top Esports winning, and I think it's gonna be 2-0.
2-0. Okay.
Yeah.
That's spicy. All right. How about you, Elias?
I also have Top Esports in a 2-0, which is like unfortunate, but unfortunate from like an exciting, like I would love to argue with Covey about this, but the reality is that like I agree if DK do win, it's because Showmaker gets to be a hero. I just look at the champions that Cream can play in this meta and can play very, very well and take over the game. I look at the champions that 369 can play and take over the game. And yes, I know 369, I have been watching that guy for too many years to like say with any sort of assurance that he can reliably do anything. But I do believe in their ability to take 2 games where the top side just kind of runs over the game. And then if they don't, Top Esports bot side is just like kind of bonkers. So I in general, like tournament long, it's going to be really, really hard for me to not be excited about top esports, to be honest. Of the they're currently not like to me a title contender, but like when I look at where the meta is and where this team excels, I'm really excited about this team. So yeah, for me it's top and it's 2-0.
Yeah, I think this team goes as far as Cream will take him for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
Croissant.
So this is the one that I definitely have the hardest time landing on, and like if I don't have, I'm bad at these like if there's not something, if it doesn't feel like something's super on the line for me, I can't push myself to get into the mental space where it's like I have to get this one right, you know. So I'm not confident about my analysis, first of all. But I will say that I feel like if they're like more in along the lines of Showmaker having a good performance, I would say that it is very interesting to me that 369 has tried to, demonstrate prowess on Rumble, but I really don't anticipate him being able to get significant advantages on that champion if he doesn't have his mid laner on a Yone, and if Cream has to play something off of Yone or Aurora. And so and it was really weird to me that they did try the Lucian. It's just like, it does make me question their judgment in the sense of like, how did you think that the best way for you to beat Genji in a BO1 was give them Yone Maokai, play Rumble Lucian? So I have I'm just going to play contrarian and be like, TES hasn't, something's off about their meta read. And then the time that they've, because I can see it like, the couple of days, like who you end up scrimming can dictate so much of what happens over the course of 3 days. And it is very RNG based. And right now, like it could be a lot of the Korean teams scrimming each other and helping each other out. And currently having like but at the same time, it's like, LNG is obviously performing really well. And so I think, but I'll have DK as 2-1 over TES. And I'm not super confident about TES's adaptations as long as DK just has some good drafting approaches where I'm more confident in them than TES.
Interesting. Okay, so it sounds like Elias and Cubby are taking top mostly because they have more faith in their players, where it sounds like you have more faith in DK's like draft decision making and stuff to be able to help lead them through.
Yeah,
is that correct?
But players like Jackie Love have that is definitely correct. But it's like, it's because a lot of the draft choices around mid and top are going to be dictated by a player that's still really like kind of like a follower in that sense, not like his own like person in Cream, as always what I've viewed him, and like kind of seen from like how he picks and what he like his trend. And 369, who is more constrained, and then but TES doesn't really have draft issues when it comes to like their bot lane. Like Jackie Love like knows how to solve like something through a series, but it's just like I don't think that they are adequately prepared for their topside drafting.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, quick shout out by the way to Numi for gifting a sub to Supernoon, SLC Soyboy for the 23 months, PP Doc gifted a sub to Croissant. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Leet Nanas with the 100 bits, and then Harry over on YouTube with the YouTube membership. So thank you everybody for the support. Continuing on, we have HLE versus Fly, the LCS team. Well, the first of 2 LCS teams that we'll be playing to see how things go. All right, I get the feeling I know where people's predictions will be on this one, but let's go snake draft style and start with Croissant. HLE versus Fly. Who do you think wins this match, Croissant?
Yeah. I think Inspired being like a lot of the, it's crazy because you got Inspired and Masu, who I think are consistently just the engine and also the I don't know what the most durable part of a car is. I'm gonna be honest, but like the engine and whatever Masu is in terms of like being consistent, like both in his mental and his performance, just like those two things, and then you compare that to Peanut and Viper, and it's just like if you put Fly against DK, if you even put Fly against TES, I can see some sort of mental collapse happening for TES. I can see like Jackie Love picking Draven and then just like getting like cheesed by Bwipo at like level 1 through 5. But in this particular matchup, I really got to have it as a 2-0 just because of how well I think the strengths of FlyQuest are neutralized by the strengths of HLE. And so
you said 2-0. You didn't specify. I assume you mean 2-0 FlyQuest.
Yes, that is I'm glad that you could clarify because I'm not very good at expressing myself at times.
Yeah, just kidding. You said 2-0 HLE. Okay.
Yes.
So 2-0 HLE because you just think that they are not the likelihood of something going awry is not there for HLE.
I mean, it's funny because you can go down the line and like all the players are kind of like mirrored even further in terms of like the volatility of Doran is like as volatile as HLE gets, and then Zeka and Quad have similar aura and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
HLE is better.
Elias, I believe you have a familial conflict of interest on this one, unfortunately.
It is important to disclose that my beautiful and talented wife works for FlyQuest. And I will also note, like, Inspired might be my favorite Western player ever. There's a personality aspect. There's the aspect that I've played jungle for as many years as I've played League of Legends. And the way he plays jungle is just, like, really fun. And he's a superstar, and it's hard not to love him. And while it may not be reflective in the sort of stats that I was looking at through PrizePicks, I still have HLE 2-0, unfortunately. Like, so for what it's worth, and I'm curious as if like Cubby and Croissant also did this. I was like, okay, so if it is 1, what does that even look like? And we can talk about that in a bit, but like I tried really hard to find the 1, and I did find the 1. I really couldn't find the 2, and I hope we find the 2 tomorrow. Like if we find the 2 tomorrow, holy shit, like it'd be the greatest day before, you know, like it becomes America's. We could just be like, yeah, and then LCS got 1, and it's like that'd be incredible. But that's as far as I could go. And that was like removing the heart from it all, like really looking at the stats and figuring out. And I do have a lot of faith in their coaching staff to like craft up something pretty silly that can catch HLE on the back foot. I think that's very possible. I think 2 is a lot. Yeah, So
are you saying 2-1 HLE or are you saying 2-0 HLE?
No, I'm still saying 2-0.
Okay.
That 1 is so narrow that I couldn't even give him the 1.
Okay.
Unfortunately, so it's still 2-0.
All right. Cubby?
2-0 HLE. If HLE bans Ivern, I think that any possible chance that FlyQuest has of winning is actually around that champion, which may seem counterintuitive because Inspired is an insanely talented player, but the comps and the way the FlyQuest plays with and around Ivern is actually very good, and I don't think that HLE, if FlyQuest has any chance of catching them off guard, I think it is around that pick. So
yeah.
Okay. So to recap, we have Elias and Cubby both taking top, Croissant taking DK, and then all 3 of you taking HLE for the second match. So let's get into our predictions for this evening, the lineups of what we think will happen based off of PrizePicks. Again, you can actually right now, if you're watching or if the match hasn't been played yet, you can go input these exact lineups if you just agree or disagree with any of these guys. If you disagree with them, then you can go put in the opposite lineups. So
can you do the lineups up until the draft?
Up until match start.
You can get really close.
Yeah, they list the time, and you can place a lineup up until the time, pretty much.
Okay, I'll give my lineups then when that happens.
Oh, okay.
After
we have some thoughts still.
No. It's just funny because it's like my predicting before the day is like you gotta do it. That's content, but like predicting as the draft is going on just raises your
Oh, totally.
It's hard. That honestly is the hardest part of Prize Picks is that you have to do this before the draft. Because in some drafts,
oh, so you do. Okay.
Yeah, you're picking me crushed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You cannot submit one after draft starts. Which it would be great, but the game would be
crazy. I
don't think they'd be sponsoring us because I don't think they'd be around
no.
if you could be like, this guy locked in Sejuani, of course he's getting no kills. Okay.
I really do. Like it'd be so bad that if you saw the first like, I think 3 bans blue side, you could just be like, oh crap, and like just immediately jump in. So, yeah, no, you can't do that.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna pick. Yeah, for those that are confused, no, we're just doing game wins for fun. Like I think, like the point of the show is to predict all sorts of stuff, including the winners and losers. But we are gonna get into lineups now. So, Covey, I've been picking on you a lot because of the fact that you have done a bunch of content with me and you're familiar with the stuff. So I'm gonna pick on you again. What is your lineup? And then I think what would be fun is, again, Croissant and Elias, if at any point in time you disagree with Cubby's lineup or whatever, feel free to interrogate him about it or ask questions or tell him why you think he's wrong. So, Cubby, what's your lineup?
Okay. So you requested 2 picks, right?
Yes.
Mine, though, I have to go 3.
Ooh, okay.
Wow.
And if you pick 2 players on the same team, you get reduced gains. Or like a reduced rate of return.
Right.
So, while I do have top esports with the 2-0 over D+, I do think that Showmaker gets more than 6.5 kills on the 2 maps. Showmaker is playing really good League and is playing a lot of very high octane picks that I think can counter Scout's pool, especially if he's on melees. And D+ is a bloody team. So I do think that D+ will get Showmaker over 6 or more than 6.5 kills, even if they do lose. And then, because I think D+ is a bloody team and they're fun, Moham is getting a kill in 2 maps. It's 0.5, and it's so fun to watch the games and just be like, will a support get a kill for one of the 2 maps, right? So I have Showmaker more, Moham more, and then Viper less.
And we should pause really quickly just for those that are not familiar. So the way that PrizePicks will do this stuff is Moham is set at more or less than half a kill, and the first 2 it says maps, by the way. It should just say games. I know it's confusing for everybody, but what maps is like a term used in other esports. That's why they use it here. But yeah, so they have Moham listed as, do you think he'll get less or more than half a kill? And what that means is, because obviously you can't get half a kill, it just means, do you think that he will get a kill or will not? So that's how that lineup works. So you have Moham getting a kill in the first 2.
And if anyone's going to opt for the 2v2, it's top esports. So, and if anyone's dumb enough to opt into it, it's probably D+. And then I have Viper at less than 12 kills in the 2 maps. I do not think that series will be nearly as bloody with the way FlyQuest has been playing. I know that people are looking at Whippo like, oh my god, he's just going in and throwing his life away at times, right? I think it's the way that he should have been playing with the Ivern comp. And I do think that FlyQuest are opting for more scaling comps because they feel like they have a better chance to win the game against the best teams in the world when they control more variables as they get to the late game with some of the drafts they've had. Good example of that was the Ivern Casio, waiting for that to get to 3 items, immediately fighting, and immediately ending the game off that fight. Once Rywise and Dawncore came in, they fought immediately. That game was over. But before that, there's a lot of inaction, and FlyQuest are one of the more likely teams to actually bane swap. So I do have Viper at less than 12. So that is my those are my 3 picks that are in my lineup.
Elias and Croissant, no worries if you have nothing to add, but any thoughts on Cubby's lineup here?
I will say just what my experience with specifically the Viper and the Showmaker of it all. The Showmaker side, I was so tempted to take. And when we get to mine, you'll see where I like sort of deviated. I have seen the games previously, like not this tournament exclusively, where like Showmaker doesn't get the help he needs and it gets really bad, and not in a way where he's like doing bad, but he just doesn't get the kills and he doesn't get enabled, and specifically where he like tunnels and just was like, I gotta catch up. And it becomes a little bit of a farm fest for him, and that's sort of why he doesn't get like Himothy like levels of carrying. I did not fall in that line, but if he ends up being right, I will bow my head. And then the Viper line, I actually I did fall to the bait that I think Cubby was hinting at, which is like, oh, but Bwipo keeps going in. And to me, I'm like, Bwipo's going to keep going in for 2 games, and for sure Viper's going to farm, is like exactly where I landed. So I hope, from an NA fan's perspective, not the person who's playing the squares, from an NA fan perspective, that Bwipo doesn't fall into that trap. But I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Oh, wait, Croissant, you said you had your hand raised. You had something about this?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say is just like, that's a thing that I haven't watched carefully on, but it's like, you can take the angle of like, okay, let's say the chance that FlyQuest, I am predicting that FlyQuest is going to have a bot lane that actually, their bot lane will do decently well. Of all the lanes, I expect them to match the best versus Viper and Delight in lane. Let's say FlyQuest falls behind early. If they fall behind early, I do expect it to happen around like wherever they've decided to allocate their resources. But let's say there's a over 50% chance that they target Bwipo. Bwipo dies a decent amount early, and then after dying early, he's not going to commit suicide because he's nervous, and this is like this is a team that he actually respects, and so then Bwipo's style of playing, of being a psychopath, he's less committed to it. And so that's where I'm worried about. Like, there are a lot of games where the crazy thing about Viper, which makes him extra hard for me, and like initially I was looking at that, and that was one of the first things that I was going to put in my lineup, but then I'm less confident on, is because he has so many games, if you look at his recent time, where it's like 7, 9, 10 kills, and then he has a lot where it's just like 1 to 3 as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, and if those games play out that way, where like, you know, Viper's still gonna do max DPS, but he's not going to actually get that many kills, then obviously like, and Bwipo loses, he's the game could be very controlled and low count and just like suffocated from HLE, and it's like 4 kills on Zeka, like 3 kills on Doran, 1 on Viper, game over, you know, but like 6 assists. So that's where I'm just it's very hard for me to anticipate that, but I think I really respect just the 3 pick, you know, just the decisiveness, because I could see it playing out the way that Cubby's got it lined up.
The payouts are higher the more squares you add to your lineup. So, but the respect on this show, the wins or losses, you are challenging. You know, if people are picking 2s, Cubby, you're increasing the risk that you'll be labeled a loser in tomorrow's show.
Not if you take the flex play, where if you miss a pick, you get your money back pretty much. So
yeah. You get a lower payout if you do the.
It is less return than just doing the 2 pick, but I don't know. The 3 pick's fun. Again, you get less return if you take 2 people on the same team. So I think it's fun. We won't with that.
All right, Elias, what is your lineup?
My lineup is going to be, and I sort of hinted this earlier, it was the flip side of really interrogating the mid lane of top versus DK. And I took the Cream 8 over. And the reason is I think the way that DK will probably play a draft is I don't have reason to believe DK won't have confidence in Showmaker's ability to. I imagine they're going to take the Corki side of no, not the Corki side. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on it, but they're going to take a Yone and he has an answer for it, and I can't recall what the answer is. What was that?
Smolder's been the pick in the Yone.
Smolder's the answer. That's right.
Okay.
I think they will give him the one Yone game, and that Yone game will be 5 to 6 kills.
Okay.
And I think that is enough to get to game 2, where it's going to be a more reasonable matchup.
Yeah.
And he gets the 3 over.
I could see Cream getting Yone. I think D Plus is the one team I will not get mad at for letting Yone through. Because again, Showmaker plays all
Yeah.
the answers to Yone really well. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think while that mid lane matchup is super interesting and really, really fun, the reality is that like the problem with Yone that I think a lot of teams are going to need to reconcile is that spills over out of the mid lane so fucking fast. And like your answer needs to be top notch, and especially with the amount that we see things roaming around in swaps and that sort of thing. I think this is just like the perfect meta for Yone to be like, I'm going to skip the laning phase part because this isn't fun. And I'm going to take these dragon fights where I get 3 kills randomly, or the, Herald fights where the same thing happens. So that's I'm taking the Cream Square at 8 at the moment. And the other one is the Inspired Square. 3 kills is not all that much. I do think that Ivern's going to be banned. I think Ivern being banned, my dream for this square specifically, and the sort of like fantasy of the like that narrow game for FlyQuest is going to be the brand game, the carry game.
Mm-hmm.
That would definitely push that over. But I even think 2 Amumu games back to back gets you 3 kills. The way that Inspired likes playing Amumu, and especially in a swap, he's going to go in there and he's going to be fighting in the like that pre-15-minute phase.
Okay.
And 2 kills each game, I think, is very easy. So that's how I'm exploring that. And those are my 2 picks: is the Cream, assuming that there's one Yone game where it goes crazy, and then an Inspired doesn't get Ivern and is going to either get like a brand game where it's like they maybe don't win, but that's like 3 to 4 kills, or it's 2 Amumu games where he's going in early and he's going to scoop up those kills no matter what. The Travis originally asked us just to have a 2P, and that's the one I'm going to submit for like when we're doing scoring. I do have my like NA Hoper version, which is Inspired, the Inspired Square and the Masu Square. Which is like, like if they get their Ivern game, I can see a Kalista game getting out of hand, and it could be really, and we, get hopeful and we get jazzed. So that one's for me though.
So you would add your official one for the show is Cream, more than 8 kills, and Inspired more than 3 kills. But you're also like, if your unofficial one would be Masu more than 5.
Yes, I would take that.
Okay.
I believe in that bot lane to make us proud is the best I'll give it. Like in a way where like, yeah, that was a fight, and I'm proud of you for that fight. Yeah.
All right. Any interrogations of this, Cubby and Croissant, or do you agree with everything there?
I can see it. I just don't have a ton of faith in Kareem this matchup. I think that the plan for D Plus is to focus him. If I'm D Plus, that's the only way that I can approach that series. But if the Yone does get through, or like Kareem is a pop-off player, so I would not be surprised if he pops off.
Yeah, if I see that DK get the like Leona and they do the lane swap into it, that square is doomed. Genuine, it's absolutely fucked. But we'll see.
Cool. Croissant, now it's time for you. What is your lineup? You look so thoughtful. I feel like you haven't decided or you're struggling.
No. I came very prepared. Did not procrastinate. Was not at Chili's for 2 hours. I've decided. I am going on the opposite side of Cubby on Moham, because I think DK is going to win, and I think Moham is not going to take a single kill, and I think it's going to be beautiful. And even if they end up losing, and I threw that prediction, it doesn't matter because he's also going to get 0 kills. Just imagine we're in the worst case scenario, and the one out of, actually not out of 14 million, but very likely scenario where they lose and he takes a kill, and that's a big part of why they lost. But then the other side, I was just like, I don't know if this is the correct logic, but like when you look at a team like HLE, and there's like many different ways that they can beat FlyQuest, right? They can play through any lane, and I expect them to win, provided that. But I don't know. Like but there's a lot of ways that FlyQuest could approach that. For example, jungle matchup. Let's say Ivern is out, so then FlyQuest is like, okay, we're gonna take out Sedge and Vi, which are his most consistent ones, Sedge, Vi, Maokai, and then they don't need Sedge, Vi, Yone. They don't need to worry about Yone Maokai as much, and Maokai is not as great of a pairing with like whatever else Zeka might want to play.
Mm-hmm.
Then, obviously like Aurora and other shits in, but like then it's like I don't know if Peanut is actually going to play. So picking one player is very not good for the over under, but picking all three of them. So I wanted to pick like a combo, right? Doran, Peanut, Zeka, for example, but 21 kills seems like a lot because they could win in a way that is bloody, but they could also just win and choke out FlyQuest in 2 games that are like 27 minutes, and they just take the first Baron, take almost everything, then they wipe them at Baron, and they just end the game, right? And so it seems most consistent to choose Bwipo, Inspired, and Quad not getting that many kills, rather than targeting like what kind of way HLA is going to win, just being like FlyQuest is going to lose, and no matter what kind of variance is involved, they're not going to like really, they're going to be suppressed. And so yeah, I have them under 12.5, less than that.
So the full square is one more time.
Bwipo, Inspired, and Quad less than 12.5 kills in the first 2 maps, and then Moham less than 0.5 kills.
I love that one. The fact that it all comes down to if Moham yoinks one or not, you know?
I am so allergic to those support kill squares.
I am too, but this one felt right, you know?
I love the logic behind it.
Everything balances on the coin.
Yeah, exactly. No, but those genuinely scare me. It's so funny. But I also appreciate that when you're playing this, you'll look at it and you'll just be like, I need one more pick. Where am I going to find one more pick? And that's the perfect square for like, fuck it, throw it in. Who gives a shit?
It's going to be a sloppy series. I think it will be. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I know that I gave everybody else the. Oh, go ahead, Croissant. What were you saying?
No. I was just saying that it pays up to 3x.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Cubby and Elias, I know I gave everybody a chance to interrogate yours. So anything that you would say to croissants, especially the Bwipo inspired quad less than 12.5?
I mean, I could see it happening. I was on the Viper less than 12 on the other side. No, not really. It's a coin flip. Then it's just guessing how many kills are going to be in that series, and which I think are less than what's projected. So, yeah.
No, unfortunately, I will also. I say unfortunately from like a story from a show perspective, I can't like interrogate and be like,
no, it's fine.
Wrong. I do find the real issue is most of the combos are premised on. You sort of see these lines where the junglers have like exceptional games, and then the mid laners and top laners will sort of have averages.
Yeah.
I think finding the playing those squares and indexing on the fact that it's like, yeah, but like you're not going to get an average quad game versus ALE makes a ton of sense to me. Yeah. So no, I really dig those.
What is interesting to me in talking to you guys is that when I've talked to other people who play PrizePicks stuff, especially through, because there's definitely some sweaty people in my Discord or that I've met through this, they will often try to predicate some of their picks based off of what they think people are going to play. So they're like, oh, I think this player is going to be on this champion or this champion, which means that they're not going to get any kills because that's like a tank, or it's just like a utility support or something. And I didn't hear as much of that from you guys. There was less. Maybe that's just because the meta is more chaotic right now, or maybe the what people are playing in positions all tend to be either something that's going to be trying to get a lot of kills or isn't. But I thought that perhaps there would be more conversation around like, I think they're going to be forced into this. I guess you guys did talk about Inspired's Ivern, so
yeah, that was definitely a part of it. I I do think I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple days the tone does shift on that. To me, we are solidifying on like what the jungle pool is, what the top lane pool is, and what the mid lane pool is. But when it comes to champion picks for me, when I'm playing, I very much look at like we're still in the part of the tournament where the power levels can be so huge that I'm like, okay, but where's the comfort for that lower team? And then that pushes it more when it comes to like meta picks, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I don't think we're at the part where everybody's scared into Sejuani, Maokai, whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if thinking of champion picks, and it might be something I look into later, is like, what's the first team that's going to try to find like that Rumble game or that Yone game, and they're just not like comfortable on it, and it's going to look terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I'm viewing it right now as far as champion picks.
369 Rumble did not look great. So
that one game,
yeah.
what was it, the Fnatic game? That was
yeah,
really
I know
bad?
his win rate on it's insane, but he did not play the pick well that game.
Yeah,
so.
that one was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Travis, that's also why that's what I would have had as a criticism of my lineups, which is just like the same way that I like am not confident about doing a HLE combo more on kills, even though I expect them to win, is because I don't know the range of Peanut's pools when he's pushed out of a certain comfort. And it's like very... So this is a knock against my lineups because I don't know what either team is going to play. And when you have FlyQuest saying stuff like, we haven't scrimmed against any LCK, LPL teams, and we are cooking up picks, super secret picks, and it's like, okay, yeah, they can play Garen, Darius. Like, they've already played Sion, and that hasn't been prior for other teams, etc. So it's just like, because of that, I actually could see FlyQuest busting out certain picks and destabilizing the series and the meta within that series, and maybe that leading to like an alarming amount of kill counts, or there's like, you know, Nocturne Ori or something like that. And like there are actually a lot of unavoidable deaths for Zeka, Viper, etc. But I just find it less, that uncertainty exists across all the different games and all the different players. And as you said, like the meta not being like, I haven't seen, one thing really important for me to look at would be like, what is the champion diversity this Worlds compared to last? Because I know like between 2023 and 2022 that it actually got more diverse, and like year over year it does kind of look like that. But I don't know those stats for this year because not competing in it and not as like locked in that sense. But
sure.
Yeah,
there isn't all that variance, but I know Moham's going to be on Braum at some point in the series, and he's going to get 0 kills. So that's why I'm so confident on that one.
yeah. So that's a safe bet. Yeah.
Plugging one more time.
The other thing that might be interesting to you, Krishan, because I remembered it while we were going through these lineups, is that you were saying, obviously, once the draft starts, it's way easier for you to make these lineups. Similar, but definitely not the same. After game 2, if it goes to game 3, they throw squares up in between game 2 and game 3. And so that might be fun for you, because if you have seen what's happened, then you have a lot of data, right? Because you have the data from the first 2 games to decide whether or not you think that the squares are right. And obviously you only usually have, I think, like 5 to 10 minutes or something to make your lineup, so you can't do as much research or whatever. But I know that that's kind of some fun for some people who play PrizePicks, is that they'll go in and be like, okay, I think I got this based off of what I've seen in the first 2 games.
Yeah. For right now, I would definitely say, like, Elias being the most experienced and successful, I would always, like, early on, I mean, even later as well, but like follow Elias's picks. Mine are just there for content. And also to create a rivalry between me and Cubby here. But like, I think it's so funny because I would like to look at I'm also really curious about like how many people's prediction rates go down for the squares after maybe the projections are more volatile, or like set a certain way after the first two maps and then between maps 2 and 3. But like there's a lot of people out there, whether it's for memes or otherwise, it's just like they do predict a win or loss after a draft, right? And
Yeah.
like having more information can just lead to more like biases like impacting your choice, and it can like so just
maybe you're just emotional. You're like, oh fuck these guys, they're not gonna get 80 kills because they suck now.
This draft sucks.
or maybe there are people that have you could just imagine like the different types of like people forecasting or predicting. There might be some that have a better ability to like kind of see the general sense, but then once the games are being played, to not be able to make those quick adjustments in the short term, or
like overcorrect or something.
Yeah. It's just interesting to see who has like just overall a low prediction rate, and then whose prediction rates are pretty good but go lower, pretty good go higher, that kind of thing. So but I will be looking out for those squares in between games 2 and 3.
Yeah. I will say,
if any of the series goes there.
I did some homework while you were going on about trying to figure out biases. You mentioned how many unique champs are played. 73 is what we're currently at. And I know that last Worlds, I think it hit 85. Or like I think that was around the break point. So I do think that lane swaps help free up more picks. That is definitely a perk.
I wonder how many got added in between this point of Swiss last year and then, because I remember like people were waiting for like just like it was their more or less was like 82 unique picks or something, right? And they were at 79, but like it's a really slow crawl, and like a finals will not necessarily, right? So it's just, will we even get 12 or 13 more to get there, or just and how? Because I remember it already had been pretty diverse by Swiss or whatever, but
I think
or by the middle or end of Swiss, but yeah,
6-ish picks were added. I'm kind of like doing this by hand, right? I'm flipping through some tabs.
Yeah.
It looks like 6 new picks were played in the main stage so far. So, I mean, there also is the part of the tournament where when you get the best of series, sometimes someone digs deep and plays something that hasn't been played yet too.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
There's that as well, which will be interesting.
All right, folks. So final lineups from our contestants here. We have Cubby locking in Showmaker more than 6.5 kills, Moham more than half a kill, Viper less than 12 kills. We have Elias locking in Cream more than 8 kills and Inspired more than 3. And then we've got Croissant locking in Moham less than half a kill, which is the opposing Cubby. Only one of these two will come out on top. And Bwippo, Inspired, and Quad less than 12.5 kills. So he's going conservative on his kill estimation. So that's the show for today. We'll be back tomorrow, probably in the afternoon. I'm going to lock in a time with these guys, speaking of locking in stuff right afterwards. But looks like we are good. Any final shout outs from you guys? Cubby?
No, thanks for having us, Travis. Shout out to PrizePicks. I've really enjoyed the deal where it was first 4 weeks of Caleb Williams' career. It was half a yard. And if you went over, you won that square. And that was very nice. I won 3 out of 4 of those. And the only one I lost, I was off by half a yard. Thank you, Travis Kelsey. But thank you, PrizePicks. And nice talking with you guys as well. Yep. That are not Travis and get to join us for this, Thanks, Travis.
Yeah. Elias?
Shout out to my wife, Danielle. She's great. She lets me play PrizePicks and shout at her at things. Also, she lets me shout about draft, which is my favorite part of League of Legends, to be honest, or watching League of Legends anyway. And then shout out to the boys chat who send me their lines. They'll shoot some hockey stuff. They did used to send me COD lines, and COD lines are dog shit. Never take a COD line in your life. It's just so hard. And then shout out to teams brawling it out early in the tournament. I hope the fighting continues.
Real quick, for COD lines, do you know the map format going into the map where the like the square is on?
So, from what I understand, no. So the
that's
thing
crazy.
That's really
isn't
hard. That bonkers?
Yeah. Okay, that's ridiculous.
So what I understand, they have to mostly like vibe the first when it's like 2 to 3 maps, and I'm like, And in the same ways that they trust me with league squares, I'm trusting them with COD squares, but the COD squares never hit. And I was like, I'm never doing that, playing that COD squares again.
I mean, headquarters versus search and destroy is like a completely different number, right? So that's interesting. Yeah.
It's incredible to me. So no, play League. It's really, really fun. I hope they keep rolling it out. And yeah.
Croissant, you have anything you want to shout out?
Shout out to Chili's.
Nice.
Shout out to the designers of the most recent Magic set, because
True.
I've only played a few sets now, but I am rank 80 right now, and it is really, really fun, and it's just it's just so enjoyable.
You'll be happy to hear I'm sending out an invite for Sunday at TL if you guys want to draft.
Oh yeah, fun.
Hell yeah. Wait, are you ranked 50 in draft?
Yeah, I'm rank 80. I still haven't broken past that, but
what?
It's.
I thought I was doing well, and I was like, I've been struggling a little bit in Upper Diamond, and I was
I've lost a lot.
No, I want to find Croissant, and I don't have one, a ticket to MagicCon, because I want him to actually like go compete in something.
He should.
Think it'd be sick. Yeah.
I think if you went into whatever open they have, you would actually wash. And also, like, I don't know if you feel this way, Croissant. Ed Travis, tell us when we need to just stop for the sake of the show. People who are bad at drafting this set are really bad, and it's actually really easy to capitalize.
It's crazy because I think I've never had such a bad start to anything as I did this set, where it's like my overall, I didn't track it exactly, but I think my win rate was something like 14 wins and like 33 losses, which is
you got to rank 80 from that,
which is no, which was below 30%, right?
Yeah.
And then I started to figure things out, and then I literally won. I couldn't even remember the last time I had won 2 in a row. I won 6 drafts in a row. So I was like 7-0, 7-1, 7-0, 7-2, 7-0. And then my win rate is now like around 55, 56. But I think it's very skewed towards like hot streaks and recent win streaks. So the fact that I did that, like I wasn't tracking my rank at all. I was like D1, and then you hit the mythic, and then like the highest I had ever climbed before, because I hadn't played that much in any set. It was like I always tried to hit mythic, and then the mythic would be like rank 1000, or the highest was like rank 600, and then I was just like, oh shit, I'm like rank 180, and then like I was able to climb like 100 ranks, and then I've gone like down and up around there, but like, and I think I'm probably not, even with the amount of time left, going to be able to break higher, because people will just adapt. I think I was just like I was able to read some early edges into the format, but it's like, I gotta lock in on Worlds, and I gotta drop the Magic, because it's just the span of 3 days where there wasn't any Worlds to watch. It's just like, okay, But hopefully both Magic and Worlds continues to be.
I mean, you can do both. You just need there's breaks between the games. You just play a game between the games.
Also, there's an arena open this weekend.
No, next weekend.
Next weekend. Okay.
Men can do both.
This weekend.
Men can watch League of Legends and also play Magic.
Yeah, it's true.
That's
the laptop or like the iPad, you get to do both. Well, it's kind of nice.
PB Doc said if he suggested we do a 5th ghost lineup with coin flips or random picks, and he would subsidize this. So maybe we will. Maybe it's a little late, but I like that idea. So maybe we'll do that tomorrow.
That's really
we'll
fun.
do
we could
chaos.
have that for predicting the matches too. Like if we're gonna give match predictions for the day, we could just have a coin. That'd be
There's
fun.
also not to throw too many things in, but I would be genuinely interested for the people who are hanging out in chat if they voted on squares. That would be really fun too.
Ooh, we could pick a player.
Yeah,
and have a vote. That'd be kind of fun.
And then the chat, we see how chat does. That could be really fun.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, maybe we'll do
a collective would definitely do worse than the coin.
Yeah, maybe we could do both, right? Where the coin decides, or we do some random thing to pick the more or less, and then or to pick the square, and then we let chat decide the more or less or something.
That'd be really fun.
That would be fun. Dude, Chris
Okay.
after me, and then the coin, man. Holy cow!
Well,
chat.
we'll do that tomorrow then. So everyone, stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow, probably in the afternoon. I'm gonna figure out with these guys, but thanks everyone for watching. Again, you can sign up for Prize Picks by using the link in the description. If any of this sounds interesting to you, use code Travis to sign up. Please do so responsibly. Make good decisions around this stuff. Don't make me regret doing the show because you send me some message about how terrible things went. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll catch you again tomorrow.